Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Dr. Anam Fatma, and I'm resident from Punjab Institute of Neurosciences, Lahore. Today, I'm going to present on visual outcomes and extent of resection of giant pituitary adenomas, experience of a tertiary care center. So before going into the detail of my research, just a brief introduction about the topic. Pituitary adenomas constitute about 10 to 15% of all intracranial tumors. Although they are benign in pathology, but the location of pituitary adenomas make the treatment very challenging. Traditionally, it has been operated through transcranial approach, but the first transsphenoidal resection of pituitary adenomas was started by Harvey Cushing in 1980s. So what is giant pituitary adenoma? It's a tumor which is greater than 4 centimeters in maximum diameter, and it mostly presents with neuro-ophthalmological symptoms and hormonal dysfunctions. Despite of advancement in neurosurgical techniques, giant pituitary adenomas still pose significant surgical challenge. Still, there is no consensus on surgical technique to address these tumors because of their close vicinity of optic nerves and to the major vascular structures. These are the main restricting factors in the surgery. So what is the basic aim in resecting this tumor? It is to remove the tumor with minimal possible side effects. The possible surgical techniques are transcranial approach, endonasal endoscopic transsphenoidal approach, and the combined approaches. Endoscopic transnasal transsphenoidal approach is preferred for pituitary adenoma of any size. So coming towards the study, there were two main objectives. First was to find out the visual outcomes after giant pituitary adenoma resection, and second was to find out the extent of resection of giant pituitary adenomas. It is a retrospective case series done at Neurosurgery Department 3, Punjab Institute of Neurosciences, Lahore from 1st January 2018 to 31st December 2020. Sample size was 50. Endonasal endoscopic transsphenoidal approach was used for all patients. Visual outcome was assessed as visual status was assessed as visual acuity and visual perimetry, which is done by an ophthalmologist. Extent of resection was calculated through Hospital PACS online system preoperatively and postoperatively from brain MRI with contrast, done 3 months postoperatively. Now coming towards the results. Majority of the patients were females. Mostly the tumors were non-functioning tumors. Only 10% of the tumors were functioning tumors. Among the functioning adenomas, majority of them were growth hormone secreting adenomas, and only one tumor was prolactinoma. Extent of resection, we were able to achieve 36% in 36% of patients near total resection, in 44% of patients subtotal resection, and in 20% partial resection. Visual status comparison, 3 patients had total blindness and there was no improvement post-operatively. Among patients who had monoocular blindness, there was improvement in 43.3% of patients. 47 patients had field effects and 75% had improvement after the resection of tumor. Among the patients who had visual field outcome, improvement was in 75%, deterioration was in 10%, and same visual field status was in 15% of the patients. There was one patient who expired. He developed post-operative CSF leakage. Endoscopic repair was done, but patient expired due to development of meningitis. So these are some of the pictures from the patient's MRI. This is the pre-operative scan showing the tumor. This is the post-operative scan of the same patient. This is another patient. Post-operative scan of the same patient. This is another case. This is the post-operative scan of the same patient. Again, the pre-operative scan and the post-operative scan showing complete resection. Now the literature review. So J. Herby et al. Reported similar results in their meta-analysis, quoting that non-functioning adenomas being the most common giant pituitary adenomas. And among functioning adenomas, they also reported that only growth hormone and prolactin secreting tumors reach a size greater than 3 centimeters. In a study by Ahmed Murat et al., Visual field effects improved in 74.1% of patients as compared to our study, which reported 75% improvement in visual field effects. Duration of visual symptoms in our series was more than 6 months in most of the patients. Menel, Etanio et al. Reported an extent of resection of 41% gross total resection and 20% subtotal resection, which is comparable to our results. Now the conclusion. Relief of mass effect by obtaining maximal tumor resection in order to decompress visual pathways and neurovascular structures and the pituitary gland. And the second is the transsphenoidal endoscopic endonasal surgery may provide effective treatment for patients with giant adenomas when performed by a surgical team that specializes in pituitary surgery. So here's a small video of the lateralization of the metal turbinate. In the drilling part, and then opening of dura and then tumor section. This is the post-operative scan of the same patient. Thank you.
Are we going to ask the questions at the same time, or is it at the end of the session? Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Anam Fatma. Now the next presentation would be by Dr. Javeria Khan. She's from Punjab Institute of Neurosciences, Lahore General Hospital. She's going to talk about efficacy of endoscopic endonasal approach for biochemical cure in functioning pituitary microadenoma.
Correct that. As the things are being set up, I would just like to ask from Anam, do you, based on the results of your 50 cases with the giant pituitary adenomas, have you sub-analyzed the failure of optimal results in your case, and what are your recommendations when you should go for transcranial approach for these giant tumors? Anam, are you here? Yeah. So what do you recommend actually? What would be the indication for transcranial approach for giant adenomas if you're not removing them properly?
So first we can go for endoscopic approach, then if there's no improvement.
What would be the contraindication for endonasal approach for giant pituitary tumors?
So if it's encasing the carotid, cavernous sinus, if there's paracellular extension of the tumor, then we can go for subtotal resection in that cases. And for giant adenomas, we can recommend that in first surgery, we can go for endoscopic approach. And if there's no improvement and patients still have symptoms, then the second approach can be transcranial approach.
And what did you do with those tumors which were left? Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Javeria Khan from Punjab Institute of Neurosciences, Neurosurgery Unit 1, and I'm really honored to be given this opportunity to share with you our work about the efficacy of endoscopic approach. It's not moving. मेरे पास चल रही है। Sorry. So we are discussing the efficacy of endoscopic endonasal approach for the biochemical cure of functioning microadenomas. As we all know that pituitary adenomas are the most common intracranial adenomas, and they represent 10% of the intracranial neoplasms. In our unit, over the last 7 years, total 616 cases of pituitary tumors were operated. In these, there were 226 tumors that were functioning, and 390 patients had non-functioning tumors. And out of these 226 cases, we have selected only a subgroup of tumors with size less than 1 centimeter, that is microadenomas, and there were only 26 cases of these. So there are 4 basic types of microadenomas which are functioning. Growth hormone secreting microadenomas are the most common microadenomas that present for surgical management. Their medical management is very prolonged and very expensive. So these patients, they stop medical treatment due to socioeconomic problems. The second is cortisol secreting microadenomas, and they most commonly presented in our setup and were treated surgically. Thyroid secreting hormones, they were the most rarest type of microadenomas. Prolactinomas are the most common microadenomas, but they are mostly treated medically. 98% cure rate is with medical treatment, and they are rarely treated surgically. So we have 2 treatment options for microadenomas: endonasal endoscopic transphenadal approach and microscopic approach. and endoscopic approach has been becoming the treatment of choice for biochemical cure. The objective of our study was to determine the efficacy of pure endoscopic endonasal transsphenoidal surgery for the biochemical cure of functional microadenomas. It was a retrospective case study. 26 cases out of 616 total cases were selected. It was conducted over a period of 7 years, and follow-up was for about 1 to 7 months with a mean of 3.5 months. Twenty-six patients were selected, and their demographic, endocrinologic, and radiological features were studied, and their complications were assessed in these patients. Follow-up was done with MRI brain with contrast and our hormonal profile after 6 weeks. A large number of patients were included with age group ranging from 15 to 70 years. Tumor size was less than 1 centimeter in size. Hormonal profile was deranged, and patients who are medically fit to undergo surgery were included in this study, whereas the patients who had prolectinoma, conchal type of sphenoid sinus, that is the sphenoid sinus has very thick bone, recurrent cases of microadenoma, patients who were not fit for endonasal approach due to any visualization hindrance or pathology of nasal passages, or patients who were medically unfit to undergo surgery were not included in this study. Pre-surgical requisites that we got an MRI of the patients with pituitary protocol, that is 1 millimeter thin slices without gap, and field of view was focused on sella. CT brain plane with FES protocol was obtained, in which 3 millimeter or thinner slices with sagittal and coronal reconstruction were obtained. Hormonal profile and consultation with endocrinologist was our first priority. Evaluation of patient regarding endonasal approach and anesthesia fitness, so we consulted with ENT specialist and anesthesiologist, and informed consent of the patient. So total 26 patients were selected. 18 patients were presented with cortisol secreting hormone. 7 patients were presented with growth hormone secreting, and only 1 patient was presented with thyroid secreting hormone. 15 patients were female and 11 patients were male. So there was a female predisposition in this microadenoma.
Dr. Javeria, only 1 minute is left. Please be quick.
61 to 70, this is the age distribution of the patients. This is an MRI of the patient, in which you can see that there is a right-sided microadenoma. This is the CT FES. These patients have a small sella. That is why endoscope is very helpful in localization of the tumor. Extracapsular resection is the basic principle of this surgery. These patients have an interface of normal pituitary along with the compressed normal pituitary and the adenoma, which is known as pseudocapsule. This is our plane of surgery. This is a pictorial depiction of this procedure, in which we dissect the plane between the normal pituitary and the tumor and resect the tumor extracapsular. This is the FES endoscopic view of the sella. This is a video in which you can see that we are removing the floor of sella. Then dura is opened in a cruciate manner. After opening the dura, we mark a very precise incision separating the normal compressed pituitary from microadenoma. We dissect in this plane. Then the tumor is resected with pituitary biopsy. complete resection is done, and ring curette is used to clearly clear the margins, anterior and the lateral extensions of the tumor. So out of these 18 patients, the patients with cortisol secreting hormone, 13 patients achieve biochemical cure, while 5 patients have to be referred to endocrinologist. In growth hormone secreting patients, 4 out of 7 patients have been cured, while the rest were referred for endocrinology and radiotherapy, and 1 patient with thyroid secreting hormone achieved biochemical cure. The patients who had residual tumor, they were referred to radiotherapy and medical therapy. And after 6 months, this is the post-op, some of the post-op complications. After 6 months, 12 patients were still on radiotherapy and medical treatment, while 81 patients have achieved medical cure. This is a 1-year post-op picture of the same patient. So our conclusion was that the endoscopic approach is a safer and better approach for treatment of microadenomas because it has a bloodless surgery, there are less side effects, and if we reduce the microadenoma size, so the post-op radiation dose and the recurrence rates, they can be controlled. Thank you.